All right, so Bitcoin. Everyone's talking about it, but this BlackRock report, that's what we're really diving into today. And I gotta say, color me intrigued
Yeah.
when BlackRock starts talking about crypto.
Right.
These are the folks managing, what is it, like trillions. It's not just chump change,
Yeah.
So their take on Bitcoin, I'm all ears.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a fascinating shift because for so long, Wall Street's treated Bitcoin like, I don't know, like a party trick almost.
Right, the sideshow.
Yeah, sideshow, exactly. Volatile, unpredictable. But this report, it kind of feels like they're seeing something different now, something more.
Yeah, and it's like we all got so used to that headline, Bitcoin is risky, that we forgot to actually ask, well, why? So what's got BlackRock so interested? Spill the tea.
But they're not shying away from the volatility, that's for sure.
Right.
But their point is, Bitcoin doesn't play by the same rules as those traditional assets. Like, take the fixed supply. Only 21 million Bitcoins ever. Right. That's it. In a world where governments can basically print money whenever they want, that scarcity, that's a big deal for some investors.
Oh, yeah, especially now.
Right.
I mean, inflation's still kind of looming out there, like a weird smell you can't quite place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And everyone gets that whole scarcity equals value thing, but Bitcoin, it's like, it makes it real,
Yeah.
Like digitally real.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got this whole decentralized thing. No central bank, no government calling the shots.
Right, which is both cool and kind of terrifying.
It's both. And BlackRock even talks about how during those crazy geopolitical flare-ups, like the whole Russia-Ukraine situation, Bitcoin was like a lifeline for some people.
Really?
Yeah, they could sidestep sanctions, access funds, even when the traditional systems went haywire. It's like a financial escape hatch, in a way.
Okay, so a haven asset, but a volatile one.
That's
a fun combination. So that's where this whole uncorrelated asset idea comes in, right? But like practically speaking, in my portfolio, how does that actually work? Isn't it just adding like another layer of risk on top of everything else?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And BlackRock's argument is, yeah, Bitcoin's had its ups and downs. No one's denying that. But those price swings, they haven't really followed the same patterns as, say, the stock market or bonds.
Interesting.
It's like, imagine your portfolio is a table, right?
Okay, I'm picturing it probably a little wobbly, knowing me. But yeah, a table.
Right. So your stocks and bonds, those are like the table legs, yeah. Now, Bitcoin, because it often does its own thing, it's like adding, I don't know, like a whole different kind of support, not just another wobbly leg.
Okay.
BlackRock's research actually suggests that even a little bit of Bitcoin, historically, has actually made for a smoother ride for a traditional portfolio.
So it's less about getting rid of risk entirely and more about like diversifying it.
Exactly.
Like a hedge against, I don't know, the world just being weird.
That's a great way to put it, because that's really what makes BlackRock's take so interesting. They're not saying Bitcoin's a sure thing, not at all. But they are saying that it offers something, some kind of protection against the things that keep their clients up at night, inflation, global uncertainty, you name it.
Right, and like the big question, are traditional currencies even going to last? That's a whole other deep dive.
Exactly.
Wow, okay. So we've gone from Bitcoin as a gamble to like Bitcoin as a potential piece of the stability puzzle.
Yeah.
That's a lot to process.
It is.
It's not just about the tech anymore. It's about how it fits into like the whole global economic landscape. This is big.
It's huge. And that's why this BlackRock report is such a big deal. This isn't some, group of college kids messing around with crypto in their dorm room.
Right, exactly.
This is BlackRock, one of the biggest financial players in the world. If you're taking Bitcoin seriously, things are changing, and we need to pay attention.
And maybe, just maybe, there's an opportunity here for those of us who were, paying attention.
Right.
But let's be real, this is complicated stuff. For the average person who's maybe just dipping their toes into this world, where do you even start? Especially with Bitcoin's reputation for, well, being a bit of a roller coaster.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And BlackRock themselves, they're still calling Bitcoin risky, especially if you're putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right, of course.
But here's the thing. It's not about, throwing darts at a board and hoping for the best.
Right.
It's about understanding what makes Bitcoin tick.
Okay.
What actually moves the price, and how that's different from, your typical stock or bond.
So less about following the hype, more about like actually getting under the hood.
Exactly.
But I'll be honest, that's where I start to get a little lost.
Sure.
Like what is actually driving those price movements?
Well, it's a whole bunch of things, right? It's complex.
Right.
But one of the biggies, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier,
Yeah.
is that fixed supply Okay, right. The 21 million.
21 million, that's it.
Right.
Governments can print money like crazy, but Bitcoin, nope. That number's set in stone. So you combine that scarcity with more and more people wanting in, you get these moments where the price just takes off.
Like a supply and demand thing, but on a global scale.
Exactly. And here's where that whole uncorrelated thing comes back into play, right? Those price jumps, they're not always connected to the same stuff that moves the rest of the market.
Okay.
Bitcoin doesn't care if the Fed raises interest rates. It doesn't care if there's a recession brewing. In fact, some people would argue that Bitcoin's actually a good hedge against those very things.
Because when the traditional system seems wobbly,
Yeah,
people look for alternatives.
exactly. Exactly.
But, okay, then what about the other side of that coin? Because we've all seen the headlines, Bitcoin crashes, and they can be pretty dramatic.
Oh, absolutely.
What's driving those?
Well, remember those surges in demand we were talking about? A lot of times, those are fueled by, well, let's be honest, hype.
Right, speculation, fear of missing out, the whole 9 yards. People pile in, hoping to ride that wave, and that pushes the price even higher. But sentiment, that can change on a dime.
Yeah, it's like a herd mentality almost.
Exactly. And when that herd decides to run the other way, look out below. That's when you see those big crashes.
So high risk, high reward. But, and I think this is important, BlackRock's not in the business of gambling, right? They're not going to touch this if it's just a casino.
No, they're playing chess, not roulette.
Right, exactly. So there has to be something more here, some method to the madness.
There is. See, BlackRock, they're playing the long game here. They're looking at where Bitcoin fits into a future, where digital assets are just, part of the landscape.
Okay.
They even talk about how more and more big players, big companies are getting involved.
Oh, like institutions are actually buying into this.
Tesla, Square, they've all added Bitcoin to their balance sheets.
Huh, interesting. So it's not just like the Wild West anymore.
No, and that's what makes BlackRock's stance so significant. They're acknowledging the volatility, sure, but they're also saying, hey, this thing has some unique advantages.
Like what? Give me the bullet points.
Scarcity, decentralization, and let's be real, huge potential for growth.
Okay, I'm listening.
They're saying that in a world that's changing as fast as ours, those qualities, they're valuable. They matter.
So it's like they're saying, look, this might be a roller coaster, but it's going somewhere interesting, so buckle up.
That's a great way to put it. But, and this is a big but, BlackRock's also saying, don't bet the farm. They're not saying go all in on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Their research actually shows that even a small amount, like maybe 1% to 5% of your portfolio, that's all.
Right, dip your toes in, don't dive head first.
Exactly. Historically, that's been a good way to potentially boost returns without taking on too much extra risk.
But even then, I mean, this still feels more complicated than just like picking a mutual fund, right?
Oh, absolutely. You got to know what you're doing. You got to understand the technology, the regulations, all the things that make Bitcoin tick. This is where doing your homework really pays off.
Right, and maybe talking to an expert, like a financial advisor who actually knows this stuff.
Exactly. Someone who speaks the language.
Right.
This isn't your grandma's stock market, that's for sure.
Definitely not. But even for someone who's not ready to, throw down cash on Bitcoin just yet, BlackRock's report, it feels like a bit of a wake-up call.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Like something big is happening here, whether we like it or not.
It's like they're acknowledging this seismic shift in finance.
Yeah, like we're watching this whole new financial system being built right in front of us.
Right, and the thing is, nobody knows for sure what the blueprint is. It's like exciting and terrifying all at once.
For real. So like, even if someone's not like ready to go full crypto evangelist,
Sure.
BlackRock's report, it kind of forces you to ask some big questions, right?
Yeah, totally. Like, what happens when these old school financial systems, what happens when they bump up against these brand new technologies, new ideas about, like, what even is money? It's wild.
It really is. Okay, so someone's listening to this maybe for the first time. Maybe
Yeah.
they're still on the fence about this whole Bitcoin thing. What's the one thing, the key takeaway they should walk away with?
That's a good question. I think it's this. Finance, the whole game, it's changing, and Bitcoin. Bitcoin's a big part of that. Whether they think it's the future of money or just a risky bet, it's not going away.
So like ignore it at your own risk kind of thing.
I mean, I wouldn't say ignore exactly, but yeah, you got to at least try to understand it. Because even if you never buy a single Bitcoin,
Right.
it's going to impact the whole global economy, like it or not.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fair. It's time to like dust off those brain cells and do some learning.
Right.
Because this isn't just about like one type of investment anymore. This is like a whole new way of thinking about money, about value, about like the future, basically.
It's a whole paradigm shift.
Yeah, totally. Well, huge thanks to you for like walking us through all this. It's been enlightening, to say the least.
It's always a pleasure to geek out about this stuff with you.
And for everyone listening, if you're feeling as intrigued by that BlackRock report as we are, you can find a link to the whole thing in the show notes, so definitely check it out.
Do your homework, kids.
Right. Knowledge is power, as they say. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.